Today we're in Minneapolis, Minnesota at Boker's, an owner-operated business that's been doing stamping and washers since 1919. This is Made in America. Boker's has seen it all when it comes to stampings and washers. The Stamping House has been manufacturing precision metal stampings, washers, spacers, and shims since it started in a garage in Minneapolis, Minnesota in 1919. Now, the company makes more than 32,000 products from 2,000 different types of material. You name it, there's a good chance Boker's has punched it. The company was founded by Vitus Boker and his son John. Vitus immigrated to America from Denmark. He was an inventor who held more than 25 patents, and his plan was to manufacture, market, and sell those products all from his basement. Well, word spread about Vitus's expertise in tooling and short-run stamping, and he quickly found himself entrenched in a short-run stamping and contract manufacturing business. Over the next 20 years, Vitus slowly grew out of the basement and into the company's current location near downtown Minneapolis. In 1942, Vitus Boker left the business to his family. The third generation ran it until 1968, when they decided to sell to 4 employees, including Bill Tedland. In 1986, Tedland bought out his partners to become sole owner, and his family is still in charge today. Tony Kersey is Bill Tedland's grandson. His first job at the company was filling sample packs at the kitchen table. Now, he's the head of marketing.
My grandpa became sole owner in 1986. His children worked in the business growing up as kids, assembling sample packs or doing a variety of different tasks at home throughout their childhood. Today they're all still involved with the business, all of Bill's children. And my mother, Amy Kersey, is our CEO and president, and my father, Mark Kersey, is our vice president. Man, I grew up here. I would come into work on Saturdays with my parents and work on my homework on an ancillary desk somewhere. When I was a kid, I would assemble sample packs at home. So I think that would probably be my first official job.
Chuck Kersey, assistant sales manager and Tony's brother, has officially been on the payroll for 13 years. But he's been working at the company in some capacity for his entire life.
Well, I love working for the family-owned business that I work at. Being that it's my family's business, I've been here my whole life. I've grown up with some of these people. Some of these people have seen me from being a baby, so it's a fun environment of people who really genuinely care, and I hope we exude that we care about them as well. They know that they are cared about. I've known some of these people my whole life, so they really mean a lot to me, and it's a great environment to work in, and I hope our employees would say the same.
The company has continued to grow, and once again, Boker's is expanding. The company is opening a second plant across the street, 100,000 square feet, 66,500 square feet dedicated to manufacturing.
Throughout our history, since we started in 1919, we've pretty much added on or moved every 8-9 years. This year we're adding on 65,000 or 66,500 square feet. It'll be adjacent to our current production facility, and that'll pretty much double our current manufacturing footprint. We're looking to stay here for quite a while. We've been here since 1939, and I think this new building that we're finishing up here is going to set us up for success for at least the next 50 years.
The company's expansion has also enabled new investments in state-of-the-art equipment to help fulfill customer demand.
For us, maintaining our equipment and always continually improving our equipment and capabilities list is really a big deal to us, mainly for our customers. We want to be able to provide them with the parts that meet or exceed their requirements, whatever the process is. And as new technology rolls out, new processes and parts are able to be developed and stamped out. So for us, getting new CNC equipment or automation equipment or visual inspection systems really helps us hold our tight quality requirements for our customers. One of the most amazing things that I've seen us purchase recently is an optical vision system. So we can visually inspect parts. There's a lot of ways to measure parts. And this system kind of takes all that technology that we're able to do on an XY coordinate and puts it into a system to be able to generate a report. It's really quite advanced.
Boker's also stocks about 2,000 different types of material, primarily sourced from providers in and around the Midwest.
So that really helps our customers be able to not settle for something off the shelf and be able to get something produced that exactly to their specifications. But we do have a really good supplier base here in the Midwest that we rely on heavily. I'd say there's probably about 5 key material suppliers that we've worked with, most of them for 30 plus years, some quite a bit longer than that.
The company started off by serving agricultural equipment manufacturers as well as companies that made off-road recreational vehicles and medical devices. To stay competitive, the company needed to diversify. Now, their key markets are aerospace and defense, with a growing footprint in the wind power and solar industries as well. Boker's has found success for more than a century because of its focus on customer service and quality. But Tony also chalks it up to the company's experience.
We have time on our side. This year is our 100th anniversary. So over those 100 years, we've really focused on refining processes and making our core competencies as well-tuned as they can be. We're a metal stamping company, so we have a variety of different departments. The process always starts in our tool and die department. So we have in-house tool and die where we produce all of our tools in-house, whether it's a compound die or progressive dies or whatever the part calls for, we produce all of the tooling in-house.
According to Chuck, the company is also successful because of its processes and its people.
We have a process for just about everything we do here and employees who follow and help to continually improve this process. Everybody pays attention to what they're doing, friendly people, great people to work with. A real feeling of family, I'd say we have here, not just because I'm part of the family, but I would say that people genuinely care about each other, genuinely like working together, and it's a good place to work.
Process comes into play in everything they do at Boker's. From receiving a purchase order to how it's manufactured and how it's shipped, it's a living process.
Our employees work to continually get better at too. It's not just a document from 1919, it's a document that's been living and growing all the way to here in 2019 and will keep up into the future. We'll never be perfect, but we're going to keep getting closer and closer as we go. It's the way to stay competitive, the way to keep being the best of the best is to keep getting better at what we do, and what we do is our processes at the end of the day.
U.S. manufacturing has changed significantly over the last 100 years, and the company has thrived by adapting and evolving with the demands of the industry.
So there weren't a lot of stamping companies back then, there are today. There's also a lot of different manufacturing processes that happen in the United States. For us, I think the biggest change that we've seen is parts generally used to be measured or quality was accepted for form, fit, and function. Did the part work? A lot of times we used to work with the inventor or the design engineer of that specific product. Now, as companies grow and rapid industrialization happened, companies have changed, buying processes have changed. So now instead of form, fit, and function, there's just standard tolerances for acceptance of quality parts. So that our tolerances that we generally quote standard are plus or minus 0.005 of an inch.
Despite the challenges, Tony says that it's important to remain committed to American manufacturing. As he sees it, we need to keep making things for our country to survive.
We have a lot of pride in our jobs here. The parts that we produce, the customers that we serve, it's a big deal to us. So being able to provide those parts and being able to provide jobs for our community, to be able to provide for families and our local community is a big deal for us. As a country, we need to continue making products for our country to survive economically and not kind of relying on other countries. Locally, it's really nice to have a local impact with our community, to be able to provide jobs and also supply parts to local companies to help our local economy thrive and grow as we've seen it in the past. I think nationally it's really important for our country to continue making products, having OEMs here supplying products that we come in contact with every day. We have a lot of pride here at Boker's in the parts that we make and the customers and industries that we serve.
Like many manufacturers today, Boker's is struggling with the skills gap. It's hard to find good people that want to work in the industry, but a bigger part of the problem is the tribal knowledge that leaves as industry veterans retire.
It's hard to get people that want to work in our industry. But for us, we've really put a high priority on documenting all processes and really trying to document all that tribal knowledge and document it into a process that's easy to follow for anybody who picks up that next job moving forward.
Another challenge the company faces is regulation.
The biggest challenge we face today is the onslaught of regulation that's passed down to us from various governing bodies, and the U.S. government included. It's more and more hoops to jump through while still trying to keep our eye on the rabbit, so to speak, keep our eye on what we do best is make stampings.
After 100 years of making parts, the company's components are everywhere. Chances are that they've impacted every living person in the United States, whether they know it or not.
With our 100 years in business and the amount of parts we've produced for a variety of customers and every industry you can think of, and continually emerging new technologies as well, we have to think that our parts have impacted everybody, whether they know it or not.
After seeing many different projects in his lifetime at the company, Tony is most proud of the parts they manufactured as part of the 9/11 rescue effort. The entire company shut down to help get the product out the door and into the field.
I think for me, one of the biggest parts that impacted me, or that I'll never forget, September 11th, 2001, 9/11. I was in 6th grade. So I wasn't working here full time, but I was packing sample packs and doing all these things, and definitely still actively engaged with the business as my family is. We got a call from a customer that makes ventilation systems and equipment for rescue workers. They were totally out of the systems. They needed them all for the rescue efforts at 9/11, so they asked us how quickly we can produce parts. So our team here banded together and actually got the parts out same day to New York City to be able to use in the rescue efforts.
While the company has had to reinvent itself to stay in America, Chuck stresses the importance of contributing to the U.S. economy. For him, American manufacturing is all about adding value to the world. Otherwise, the U.S. could quickly be left behind.
Our roots are obviously here in the U.S. We find that we get a competitive advantage for on-time delivery and quick turns and quality as well. We have engaged employees who are living the processes, and being in the U.S. here, that helps us to control our personnel. We have to keep our costs down because it's a very competitive field we work in. By improving our throughput, improving our efficiency, we've been able to keep our costs at a reasonable level. It helps us with lower order quantities required because we don't have to ship an entire shipping container over here. We can do quick deliveries to, say, a customer in Wisconsin. And being centrally located here in the U.S., we're close to the entire U.S. Everything is within a few days of us. Being a U.S. manufacturer, we really care about manufacturing here in the U.S. It's important for us to keep making stuff here because if other nations are making everything we're buying, then we have no leverage. We become quickly a third world nation if we let it happen. So we have to keep making stuff here. We have to keep adding value to the world. Otherwise, we will be forgotten about here in the United States. So it's important to us that we keep making stuff here. And it's helped. We get people from all over all different cultures, all sorts of immigrants have come together to help build Boker's to what it is today. So we've benefited from experience of all sorts of different people.
Boker started with Vitus and his son in a Minneapolis basement. Now, with Bill Tedlin's family at the helm and more than 125 employees in tow, the horizon for this Minnesota manufacturer has never seemed so bright. This is IEN, Made in America.